Hello and welcome to Black Economics TV. Today we have with us Doreen Adusei, MBE no less. Ooh, well done. She's going to be speaking to us about her fashion business. She has helped many people to start up their fashion business and grow their business. She's helped with training. So I'm going to hand over to her now. She can give us the resume of what she has done.
Thank you, Dawn. I run an organization called Fashion Works, and Fashion Works is based in London. Originally, we set up about 25 years ago to help designers who are starting their own business, who are transitioning from university into industry and manufacturers. We've now set up a second Fashion Works in Africa, which is Fashion Works International.
Ooh, well done. Okay, so that's good. So which country is it that you've started the new Fashion Works?
It's Ghana. What we found is since Brexit, a lot of the manufacturers in the UK, Eastern Europeans have gone back to either Poland or Turkey. So we're short of factories. And Ghana, Nigeria, the government is setting up a lot of factories and manufacturers. So the first pilot is in Ghana.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so how many factories are you working with over there?
Well, I screened, there's about 35 factories in Ghana. I screened 11, and there's 4 that is perfect. They're as good as the factories here. And the designers that we're working with are designers from here. And so they need the quality that the buyers want here.
Yes.
And I've got to be truthful that some of the factories in Ghana, even Nigeria, some are even better than here.
Really?
The people are not aware of it, and the designers don't know where to find it. It took me nearly 3 years to source all these factories, and that's from going through governments, referrals from friends and friends who were working there. It took nearly about 3 years to find them.
Wow, and we must say that normally you lived here, but you went over to spend quite a few months in Ghana, didn't you, to sort this out?
I did initially because my mother is getting on, and I realized that in terms of as you're living your life, you think, okay, what kind of balance do you want? I love Ghana. I love the sun. I love the quality of life is different from here. In Africa, it's obviously because the pound has changed, is higher. You can have your driver, you can have your cook. And I realized, you know what? I want that kind of life. I want part of that. Linked to also support my mother. And so now going forward, I'm looking more at 2 months there, but taking designer collections over there, working on the quality, and then bringing it back. To me, that works better in terms of it's exactly the same as we do here, but a lot of it is traveling back and forth.
Yeah.
And this will be the first, it'll be 1 year pilot to see how that works.
Okay, so how many designers are you working with from here then?
We've got 6 designers.
6.
And 6 because I'm trying to keep the project small, but these are designers who are mainly working with African fabrics, Belisca prints, kente weaves. We needed to keep it very close to either buying the fabrics there, making the manufacturing over there. But what I'm beginning to also find now is that some of the manufacturers are also producing their own range. So somehow now there looks to be like a project of bringing their range over to try and help them sell. So with this, programs like this, you start off with one, i.e. the needs of the designers here looking for factory manufacturers. When you get there, then you actually realize that though the factories need work, a lot of them are also designers themselves, and they need to break out of the African market and go international. So slowly, I don't want to take too much on because I'm not going to Africa to work as hard as I'm working here. I'm hopefully going to be enjoying my time as well. So the pilot for the 1 year, I'll try and keep the numbers small.
Okay, okay.
And then build on it slowly.
Okay, so that's interesting. If the factories also have products they want to be sold here, so you're finding end buyers for them, I presume, yeah?
I'm finding that also some of our designers have set up pop-up shops. So we need to try the ranges to see because uh, the sense of design sense is actually different from here. African design might be maybe designed for Africa with the hot weather, and also I think I can say this that in Africa designs are bright and it looks rich. Here, because of the weather, you're not going to keep having a bright fabrics, gold or glitter embroidery. So it's more about testing the market, the Western market, to see whether there's a market for it. At the moment, I've seen that we might need to help them with redesigning the ranges, selecting different kind of color palettes, because the color in Africa is a bit different from here. So far, we're not going to market here, we're not testing market, but looking at what they're doing, and looking at the ranges that sells here, we might need to help them redesign before they source the market. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, it does. It does. So, what advantage would you say it is to manufacture your clothes in Africa instead of going to China to get it done?
Um, I would say the Chinese make is also very, very good. But you tend to find that if you came from Africa originally, or if you have connections in Africa, it's easier to resolve problems. And Africa is closer to resolve problems as opposed to China.
Yeah,
The language barrier, there's hardly any language barrier
yeah.
because most of these countries are English speaking. So I'll say that you can actually work with the African factories much more clearer, and actually get your points across easier than working in China.
Mm.
That's also, I think, as I've got to actually say this, that as Black designers or Black product developers, it's the time really is now where we need to start looking at where we came from or where our parents came from, because they're as good as China, they're as good as other places. And if there's no reason to go to China, what I'm saying to designers is let's support manufacturers to grow where we came from, our parents came from. So to me, the biggest advantage is as helping to grow factories and manufacturing where we came from.
Mm. Yeah, and it's actually nice to be able to support the businesses in Africa, to support the businesses back home, you
And
know,
the qualities are as good as China. The price is very competitive. So
really.
then you got to say, okay, what is the reason of going to China? China now is doing small quantities, but so is Africa.
Yeah.
So it's comparing like for like, it's exactly the same, but it's very much as what you really want to do, what is your vision, and also as a Black person, uh, working with your own people. As
Okay.
simple as.
Yeah. So in terms of small quantities, which you mentioned, what is a small quantity?
Well, in Africa, you have the tailors and the dressmakers, which I wouldn't advise designers to work with yet because the quality is not so high. But for the manufacturers, we've managed to agree 50.
So
So
50 is the minimum
yeah,
quantity.
50 minimum. Initially, they were working pre-COVID, they were working maybe 1,000, 2,000.
Oh, wow.
Since COVID, where the PPE is finished, where large volumes are finished, they're having to be much more realistic. And some of the factories have set up sidelines that is like a sample run, small run, and they are
Okay.
prepared to do 50, which is very good.
Okay. All right, good. So that could be 50 across two or three sizes or across different colors, but it's the same
50
pattern,
of
yeah?
one size, but different colorways and different prints and
Okay.
different fabrics, but 50 of one style.
Okay. Understood.
Because when they lay on the table, they can lay different fabrics on top of each other, but
Oh,
not different styles. So we're talking about one style, which you can actually get that. Some designers, startups are selling about 50 a month, and
Yeah.
that'll be quite a deal for them.
Yes. Okay. Brilliant. Okay. So give me an idea about your background then. Let's go way back. Tell me about your
Um,
childhood, your
I
education. How
came
did you
to,
get into what you're doing now?
well, my aunt, I came from Ghana. I was born in Ghana. My aunt was a dressmaker. And then I leave school, I think when about 8, she said, teach me how to sew. So when I came to the UK, I came when I was around about 11. I knew how to sew slightly, and I thought I wanted to be a dressmaker until I started my degree, fashion degree, and went to a factory and realized that I did not want to work so hard. It
Oh,
was hard
really?
work. Making was so hard. In those days, you could see somebody making maybe a coat in 45 minutes, and they were not taking a break, and they were sweating. I came back from that first factory, and I knew I did not want to be a maker. I wanted to be a designer.
Yes. Okay.
And so,
The glamorous end, yeah.
exactly. And I think as the age that I am, um, in those days, people tell you the truth. It wasn't so hidden, PC type of, we're not going to tell you what it's really like. One of the lecturers said to me, she said, designers in the fashion industry, most black people don't design, they go into the factories. And that scared me. So what she said is, if you wanted to be a designer, you need to do a master's. And she
Oh,
guided me and advised me how to get into the Royal College. And what I found is that it's quite interesting that the fashion industry, yeah, there's still a class element. There's a class and it's a color element. But going to the Royal College meant that I got jobs that my color did not matter. It was more the Royal College was what they were looking for.
mm,
And it taught me a lot that to get the level that you want to be, you have got to work to that kind of class system, whether you're a good designer or not. And so from the Royal, the good thing about the Royal is that they do industry projects and industry competitions. And from there, the second year, I won 2 competitions of a contract.
wow.
Uh, that's how it worked. The Royal College gave you a bursary, but that means that you had to work for industry. If it sells, regardless whether your color, sorry, regardless your color, you the award was either a contract or a job.
Oh,
Mine
wow.
was a freelance contract from Harvey Nichols. And I
Ooh.
found that the designer college, winning a competition, I thought, yes, I had it. But the beauty is that the buyers were fantastic. They advised me how to tweak the designs themselves. They took me around to the shop floor. I've never had it before. They took me around to the shop floor in terms of the fabrics that is selling, the colors that are selling. Don't forget that at that level of the market, I was working, most of the customers, 99.5% are white
Yeah.
and they're tourists. So I had to design for that market.
Mm.
They taught me that just walking me through the shop floor, and I designed for them for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
But
Well done.
it wasn't that easy. I
Mm.
found that so as a one-man band designer, designing, cutting the pattern, running to the factory, it was hard. I was sleeping on the bus delivering, and
Wow.
but I also managed to get a contract from Liberties.
Yeah.
So I went to Liberties. What I found is um, I I think it was it was a business decision where it was very much like I'll design for you and I'll not design for anybody else. So I took the collection, I have Nichols collection to Liberties with a different color palette, different fabrics to
Okay.
design for them, but using a Liberties print. What
Okay.
I did find, Dawn, was that I was so tired.
Mm.
And all the profit I was making was going back into the business. And I decided, you know what, I couldn't handle that kind of, it was painful. And a friend of mine was teaching a love branch. She said, look, why don't you get your part-time job along this? Teaching is easier. So the first term I went to Loughborough, I was traveling to Loughborough, Loughborough next to Leicester. I was
Yes.
teaching there Thursdays and Friday, and I was earning more money than I was earning on my business.
Oh,
And I enjoyed it. And so slowly the freelance works that I did not sort of push so much for that. I pushed more for teaching. And it was, to me, it was easy. I was teaching illustration and design. And if you imagine now, the universities, you have maybe 40 to 50 students. Then it was 10 or 12.
yes.
And so I taught BTEC on a Thursday, and I taught the degree textiles on a Thursday night and then a Friday. So I managed to fit in about 3 days teaching in 2 days.
Oh,
And,
wow. Well, by
and
Saturday you were knackered, did it?
I slept all day.
Of
But
course.
I also then got a job teaching at Croydon 2 days a week, Croydon College in London. So I didn't have to wake up so early. And I found that Croydon was a bit more challenging. The students were tougher. London students were tougher. It wasn't like outside London. But from there, working with Croydon students, that's when I started developing Fashion Works.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. So you set up Fashion Works. What year was that?
19, 1997, 98,
Okay.
98.
So this was a business that did what? Supported fashion designers?
What I found was that Croydon was, at the time, Croydon was about 70% Black designers.
Oh.
And these were really talented designers. And I didn't understand because I've had it easier getting employment. I didn't understand why they were remaining long-term unemployed. And at the same time, this was not at the beginning of Croydon, but more at the end. At the same time, I started going to meetings where there were programs to support fine artists, photographers. So I thought, okay, let's write a proposal to link unemployed designers to industry. At the same time, there was a government competition for London for all over the country, and the competition was to write a pilot to link graduates into industry.
Mm.
So I wrote the first proposal, got rejected, second one got rejected, the third one I got. And that said, the first funding for Fashion Work started from that.
Oh, brilliant.
And this was, once they finished university, they came through Fashion Works for 3 months, got industrial placements, but got trained either pattern cutting, whatever the companies were looking for. So we got job descriptions from the company. What are you looking for? What is your gaps? And we trained the graduates to fit those positions on a placement. And the idea behind it is that we also looked at the company's finances. If the designers and the placements actually made a difference to the finances, they had to employ them. And that's how the project started.
Mm. All right.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's pretty good.
There's more programs like this now. But when I started, it was just London Fashion Week. But London Fashion Week is, as it's always been, which university you've been to, is still very, very elite. And you would not have a student from Croydon or Lewisham or Lambeth.
Oh,
And
wow.
I say Fashion Works initially was to target the colleges and universities that have Black graduates.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So you were basically trying to help people who would find it difficult to get into mainstream
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Employment. Yeah,
fashion designer jobs.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
fair enough. Well, thank you for doing that. You must have helped many hundreds of people over the years. Could you give me an
Yeah.
idea of who you feel were the biggest designers that you've helped, and what kind of earning power did some of them go on to earn?
The designers, funny enough, who earn the most are not stuck in fashion. What the way that I train or advise designers is that you may have been trained in fashion, but you're also a creative. So you need to look at the market to see, okay, is it interiors that is making money now? Is it accessories that's making money now? So most of the designers who are doing really, really well, up to maybe 200,000 a year, 250,000 a year, are not doing fashion, they're doing interiors. Or they do not,
Interior design. Oh,
or
wow.
art. Because
Okay.
if you imagine that you're doing a furniture, one of our designers designs furniture, but with root tables in Africa. A root table might be maybe $800 a table.
Yeah.
You cannot make that from a garment.
Yeah.
So when I advise all designers is you can illustrate, you can design, you can teach, you can do accessories, you can do interiors, but look at what the market is asking for.
Mm,
Don't just do fashion because that is your dream and you find that easier. Break into other markets. I have. I'm more of a designer, illustrator, but doing fashion works, it's only at the beginning days to teach illustration, but or teach design. Most of the designers coming through do not want me to teach them design. It's more about planning the future going forward. So as a designer and as a graduate, you need to be flexible and multi-skilled.
mm, mm.
So when you asked me the question, how successful? The successful ones are actually doing other things, not garments.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Now, tell me about challenges that you have. Tell me about some of the worst points you had in your business.
At the beginning, if I'm being honest, is that when I won that first award, it was sight unseen. Nobody saw me. They didn't see my color. As the times have gone on, it's you're going to meetings, and your color is also part of it. That I've heard people say that, oh, as a designer, or they'll use the word as a designer, you know that she's on management. So you might have to maybe put her budget together with ours, so we manage her. But as time's have gone on, as you get older, you know how to deal with things like that. But the challenge of being younger and knowing that it's not my skill set that was in question, but my color, I had to learn not to challenge every time. And also I had to learn to play the game. It is a game.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. You had one time when somebody started to copy what you were doing, isn't that right?
People do though, but they do. Um, which I this because I went through a phase where I was going to close fashion work because I was ill. And this was one of the lecturers, trainers I employed.
Really?
So that is how business is. And I had to decide, do I want to recover my health or chase that person down in court? And I said, okay, my health was more important to me. Plus also, it made me realize that maybe I got too comfortable and I needed to move on. And if you don't move on as a creative or as a business person and you've got a product or you've got a service, there's somebody, people are looking at it. There's a lot of people looking, other people are going to copy. Then you need to move on. You
Mm.
need to add on or change the direction you're going. And that's what I did.
How did you know they were copying you?
Somebody rang me because they rang them to go and see them, and it wasn't me, and they knew me. And that's when they told me.
Oh,
And I challenged this person who was teaching. By that time, he wasn't teaching for me. He's gone on to teach at one of the main universities. And you find that it was upsetting, but I had to put the emotion aside and move on.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, basically, you had all your services and so on your website, and he just copied all of that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
But it taught me something that maybe I was actually showing too much my inner business secrets.
Um,
And I needed to water down exactly what I was going to publish and let other people see, and I had to be a bit
okay.
more careful.
Well, that's a
So
lesson for us all, isn't it, really?
yeah,
Don't spill everything on your website,
you can't, you
Have
can't.
just give headings, but don't give details.
Exactly,
Because then you're just giving your blueprint to others.
exactly. And if the customer wants more, they come to you,
Yeah.
and at least you know where you're giving your information. We need to be careful because what I have found is that there's an incredible. I wouldn't even say that these people will copy and it's mean. It's basically they're lazy. They've looked around to see what is working. They've done your research. And you could say that, okay, it's complimentary, but it's hurtful when it happens. But what it does do is either you stop your business or you move on.
Mm,
And I feel that I've moved on.
mm. Okay. Okay. So, in terms of young people around you, maybe like children or teen relatives, would you encourage them to be entrepreneurs, or would you tell them go get a job?
Um, I would tell them to go and get a job first.
Mm.
Don't start off from university. Most of the graduates or young people who start from university, not from school, but from university, hardly any of them survive.
Really?
I would tell them to go work, learn other people's mistakes,
Mhm.
but also maybe go and work with a smaller company where you can do everything. You can help them do everything and you can
Yeah,
learn everything.
yeah,
Then if you do want to start your own business, maybe 3 years down the line, then do, but be equipped.
yeah.
It's not easy, but you need to know the mistake, the pitfalls they can fall into. You
Mm.
need to understand the market. The market is different from what you think.
Okay.
So you need to learn. It's not you're learning theory at university. You got to then actually learn the practical, and
Yeah.
that's where you do it. Either you work or you do an internship.
Well, it seems to me you've got a lot of knowledge and experience, not only from what you've done, but also from what the people you've been mentoring or coaching or training, what they've done as well. And that's valuable information. Have you written a book or manual?
My there's a lecturer from Birmingham University last year. They did like more of a university research, but a research in terms of starting a creative entrepreneurship for Black and minorities in terms of what you need to do, what you need to learn, exactly what we're discussing, what the industry is really like. So this was more of like a research book, but for universities.
Oh,
But
so
what
we
I've
need
found,
one for the ordinary people like the rest of us
I
then.
think they've got it on Amazon. So if you want, I can get the information for you.
Yeah,
But
that'd be good. And then
yeah,
we can put the link underneath if people
okay,
buy it.
okay.
So you contributed to the content of that, did you?
I did the fashion element, and
Oh,
different
okay.
people did maybe the technology element. So, but these, I think, all of us were black. So the black lecturers, black industry funders. It's very much about like an ethnic minority direction, and these are, I think, enterprise lecturers who felt that that was needed.
Hmm. Hmm. What year did that come out?
Last year, it was
Last
last year.
year. Oh,
Yeah,
right. Okay.
yeah,
So it's fairly recent.
yeah.
That's very
But
interesting.
going forward, though, because we're doing workshops here, but online. And so since COVID, the beauty of fashion work here in the UK is that most of our workshops have gone online.
Yeah, yeah.
And that works well for me because I can actually deliver it anywhere. So
Yeah,
with
that's
us
brilliant.
online, yeah, we've got all the things that we're discussing. We've actually got so many master classes. So part of going forward, I'm looking at potentially we do like an online sourcing with all the materials that we got. So that's
Fantastic.
something that I'm beginning to research. I'm not a techie person, so I'm looking for technology people so we can actually do maybe an interactive ask the question what you need, but all based on the master classes and the templates that we've got.
Yeah, because I think I remember attending one or two of your workshops actually, and they were very good. You had some fantastic fashion designers there who were doing things which were out of this world. I was amazed.
With them, I just think that most designers now, they're very clever, they're very talented, but they don't actually know what directions to go.
Yeah, and some of them are actually using tech. I think it's probably more American ones who are using tech to great effect, marketing, making 100K a day and all this kind of things. So some of them are doing really well. Merch is popular. I mean, anybody can design a picture to put on a t-shirt or whatever, but actually doing couture work, that's a little bit more complex, and not that many people are doing it, but those that are, they can do really well.
They are, and actually the Africans are doing very well in that.
Yeah.
Because the African designers are used to doing made to measure. And that's very couture. And the quality now is couture. And I think that I would say that people need also they need to start looking at the African designers, especially Nigerian designers. What they do is fantastic.
Really?
So if you're looking for couture and something really amazing, I would actually order something from there, because here it will be too expensive.
Okay.
Maybe there you might get a little bit more reasonable, but the quality and some amazing shapes. Amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So people need to look into that.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think the biggest company I know that's designing their own is a company that was offline for a while because they had a dispute with investors. Grassfields, you know them?
No.
No?
What did they do?
Well, they had a big company where they were designing and selling African wear, clothing with African fabrics as well as other types of fabrics. And they were doing very well. And then they had an investor who came in, and the investor took over the company. And, there was war basically for 2 years. But now they've got the company back. Good. And they seem to be doing amazing things. I even was looking at their new collection today. It's fantastic.
I think I first read about them on the Black Economics WhatsApp group. And in terms of having problems with investors, a lot of designers that we've had have had that. And some have actually totally lost their company. Really? So you need to be careful. Somebody's getting certain investor, it needs to be the right fit. Some investors are coming in because they want your company. Some are coming in because they want instant, quicker returns. So you need to be very, very careful. It's not as easy as you think. You've got to be careful.
Wow. Yeah. Well, there's a warning, isn't it? So you've known of people this has happened to?
A lot of designers, and I wouldn't even say the names. These are really big name designers, and they've lost their name because some are also the whole. If your name is your company, you're losing that. So you've got to start again with a different name. So you need to be careful.
So if the investors taking over the company, have they then gone on to sort of build the company to be bigger, or has the company disappeared?
Some have built the company bigger. Lots of the companies have disappeared because the designer is not there. And a lot of times they want the returns, they want actually the money back quicker. So they'll start diffusing the fabric, the quality of what they're making. They start becoming much more commercial. And lots of the companies do fold because the designer who's driving the quality, who's driving the creativity, is not there.
Yeah. Well, that's like getting rid of the goose that laid the golden egg, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
That doesn't sound very smart.
These are investors. They're not creators. They're not product designers. They just want their money back.
Yeah. Okay. I see. Okay, so there's another warning for people who are hoping to make it big in the industry. All right, well, that's fantastic. In terms of empire building now, tell me, What's your dreams and goals that you have that you want to follow through now? I mean, you said that you're working with 4 factories in Ghana and you've got 6 designers who are working with them. So are you planning to next year get 12 designers perhaps, or maybe create a pathway?
We're hoping to, but what I've found is that the way my business model is that because I've always got to take into account what I see on the ground. And what I'm seeing on the ground in Africa are the African designers. And they can be as competitive as here. And also, I find a challenge here in terms of what I can offer, what we can offer that online, the advice online. The African designers are trying to break out of Africa. They need to have the knowledge. I'm much more of a knowledge-based kind of organization. They need to have the knowledge of the market they're going into. And I find that much more challenging in the siting. So what I'm beginning to see is that we will possibly work more with the factories within the own brand. It'll be easier. As opposed to getting the designer and the link into the factories. A lot of the factories want to do their own brand. What that means is that it will make the collections cheaper on the market. So I wouldn't call it a big empire builder because I believe the company is very socially led. So if there's a need and we can help them with a need, obviously it needs to generate an income. So going forward, it's more about maybe moving our activities to working more with factories. Okay. Factories who are bigger, factories who've got potential to be bigger. I think that is where most of our income in the future is going to come from. Okay.
But if a designer here, say in January, they want to start working with a factory in Ghana, would you be able to facilitate introductions and, you know, smooth the pathway for them?
Because they're not part, because the six designers we're working with is funded. So if they're outside the 6, then that is a consultancy. Yes, we can help.
Yes. So they would have to pay accordingly. Yes, yeah, understood. Exactly. And are you planning to have links in other African countries as well?
The funny thing is that it's not that having links with the countries, but I've met a lot of organizations who are doing similar.
Okay.
And these are the ones that if I'm going, I'm wanting to break maybe into Nigeria, let's say for leather, or breaking into Kenya for accessories, I'll go through those organizations.
Yes, fair enough.
Because those countries are very, very good.
Okay, great. Understood. Okay. All right. Well, I think that we have concluded our interview. And it's been very useful. And I think for fashion designers, they should definitely connect with you. So they can have a look at your website, see what you do?
Yes, we change and everything now, but as I said, it's very limited information. But if you need to get in touch with us, then you can, then we can send you further information.
Okay, all right. And then once you've got your other material, like past workshops online, we'll be quite happy to sort of put it underneath this, put the links underneath.
Yeah. And at the moment, also, we're doing some workshops inside the job centres in South London. But for unemployed designers. So if you're new and you're unemployed, we're going to various job centres, not just fashion, but also media, photography, giving advice. So that's something that if anybody's starting out, they can go to these job centres for.
Okay, great. Lovely. Okay, well, thank you so much, Doreen. It's been enlightening.
It's not been as hard as I thought. I thought it was going to be hard.
Thank you so much. You take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.